Jesus music primarily began in population centers of the United States, where the Jesus movement was gaining momentum throughout Southern California, San Francisco, Seattle, and Chicago around 1969 through the 1970s. Large numbers of hippies and street musicians began converting to Christianity. These musicians continued playing the same styles of music that they had been playing prior to their conversion, though they now infused their lyrics with a Christian message. Of the many bands and artists that came out of this time period, some became leaders within the Jesus movement. Most notably among them, Larry Norman, Barry McGuire, LoveSong, Second Chapter of Acts, Randy Stonehill, Randy Matthews, and during the mid-1970s, Keith Green. Much of the music was a blend of folk music and folk rock with groups like Children of the Day, Nancy Honeytree, Karen Lafferty, Debbie Kerner and Ernie Rettino, soft rock artists such as Chuck Girard, Phil Keaggy, and Kelly Willard. Jazz fusion music by the Sweet Comfort Band, country rock bands were in abundance. Bethlehem, Daniel Amos, Gentle Faith, the Talbot brothers John Michael and Terry Talbot, and The Way, and hard rock groups like the All Saved Freak Band, Petra, Resurrection Band, and Servant. Initially, the music tended to be relatively simple. So too was the message, as the songwriters attempted to present the value of a Christ-centered relationship without evoking the vocabulary or other trappings of ecclesiastical religion. Rather than quoting religious clichés or King James Bible verses, they used storytelling, allegory, imagery, and metaphors, often with a language that flustered conservatives. In addition to the basic message of salvation, the lyrics often reflected the expectation of the imminent return of Christ that was prominent in evangelical circles at the time, heightened by the publication of Hal Lindsey's book, The Late Great Planet Earth. Larry Norman voiced this in his song I Wish We'd All Been Ready, singing, "There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come, and you've been left behind." Despite the positive Christian message, the music was often described as worldly at best, or as the devil's music in the worst case. These were some of the main factors that caused many U.S. churches to largely reject the movement and these artists at the time. This suited many Jesus music artists as they wanted to bring Jesus to non-believers, not just to church youth. Larry Norman addressed this culture clash in his 1972 song, Why Should the Devil Have All the Good Music? On the west coast of the United States, Jesus music festivals began to emerge in the summer months of the early 1970s, featuring many of the artists previously mentioned. While the music was often loud and the venue similar to the Monterey Pop Festival and Woodstock, the atmosphere was decidedly different and attracted large crowds of camping families as well as teenagers and young adults. By 1973, Jesus music was receiving enough attention inside the mainstream media that an industry began to emerge. By the mid-1970s, the phrase contemporary Christian music, CCM, had been coined by Ron Moore, and the first edition of CCM magazine was published in July 1977. CCM now was a combination of traditional gospel music, Southern gospel music, Jesus music artists, and in some cases a style of big band music with Christian lyrics. By 1976, it was apparent that a new generation of performers who had grown up in the church wanted to play non-secular pop and rock music for other Christians. By the end of the 1970s, the term Jesus music fell out of use as the movement was replaced by the CCM industry.